Is Mayor Khan a horrible mayor, a nasty guy and a stupid guy?
I don't tend to get as personal as that. I let others attack me personally. I don't tend to return the favour. All I would say is that knife crime in London is up 58% since 2021. Something is going horribly wrong on London streets, and this guy has overseen it all.
Let's look back at what we've heard and what we've discussed. Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, no shortage of calls, no shortage of questions. Perhaps the two, really, that certainly feature in the headlines at the moment are the so-called Manchester Airport brawl and the position in which the UK government finds itself as potentially recognition of the state of Palestine. LBC's political editor, Natasha, in the studio to pick up on those. Natasha, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, Nigel Farage saying that the Manchester Airport case would not have happened had he and Richard Tice not threatened to bring that private prosecution.
This is where two-tier comes from. You know, this incident happens at Manchester Airport and months and months and months and months go by. Southport happens and a woman with a previously wonderful record within days is in court and gets 31 months in prison. So I'm pleased it's happening. Without going into the case at all, there are two police officers who were involved in that incident who are still under investigation by the IOPC, the Police Complaints Procedure. And no wonder the Conservatives and others are saying what they are, because it does appear that over all of this, that the Home Secretary effectively did take sides.
Obviously, we have seen charges. We've seen those cases go to court now. But I think it's just going, well, what Nigel Farage is trying to do, and obviously what he's trying to do this summer, go to the heart of what he feels is that mistrust within the police, that mistrust, that crime going on across the country. But yes, I feel that what he was saying sort of about the idea this is where two-tier policing comes from, at least what people think two-tier policing comes from, is a message that I don't think the government really have managed to address very well. This incident, he said, happens at Manchester Airport, months go by, and he's talking about differences in the law, different convictions. I thought he was strong on that.
Well, I suppose it'd be quite useful if the Palestinian state, run by Hamas, didn't want to obliterate Israel and kill all its people. You can't recognise a Palestinian state at this moment in time, whilst Hamas, a terrorist organisation dedicated in their own charter to wiping Israel off the face of the map, exists. So, no, it would be wrong. And I do wonder sometimes whether we've all forgotten what happened on October the 7th. And the fact that Hamas said afterwards they'd do it again and again and again. And none of this, of course, is to praise what Netanyahu's done and what is happening in Gaza. Long term, Keith, if we had an Israeli and Palestinian state coexisting, respecting the rights of the others to exist, a sort of Abraham Accords, that stretched across the whole region, then fine. But to do it now is wrong. It rewards terrorism. And Starmer, well, of course, he said he wouldn't recognise Palestine, which is why, of course, he is, because he U-turns on everything, and because the left of British politics is screaming for him to do so. It is leadership from Starmer that lacks any sense, frankly, of morality.
On Palestine, of course, that's obviously in the news because of what Keir Starmer set out earlier this week about his plan to recognise, but he is saying that is a reward for terrorism now is not the right time to do so. So quite strong on that. And you're seeing, I think, quite a lot of backlash to Keir Starmer on Palestine, actually. You've seen, obviously, Emily Damari, one of the hostages on the front pages of the papers today, warning this is not the right time, that it risks basically threatening the whole peace process and, of course, not helping to get a ceasefire at all. I thought he was interesting on talking about police, giving them tasers as well. I'd not heard him say that before. Quite an interesting policy. Obviously, they're rolling them out in prisons.
Yes.
Not something that I would ever want to go and work in a prison was what
well, he said there's
on
not
that.
enough money to pay him to be a prison guard.
Exactly.
Officer.
Yeah, exactly. Also thought he was very strong on the online safety app.
It is those suicide sites that this legislation was intended to stop. Absolutely. But here's the problem. Number one, this legislation doesn't stop that because there are things called VPNs, and it'll take you just pop your phone on, within 45 seconds.
LBC did an investigation. Seconds to do it.
So that's the first problem. It doesn't actually deal with it, despite the best intentions. And if this legislation is designed to protect children, why under it are we setting up an elite police force to monitor what people say about illegal immigration and migrant hotels. Why already online are we seeing a speech from a member of Parliament being censored? And by the way, why is it 16 and 17-year-olds now cannot connect with some news content directly, but they're going to get the vote?
So how would you seek to protect those vulnerable...
This legislation, just start with this. This legislation is the biggest threat to free, open debate and speech we've ever seen from a government.
You want safety online, don't you, Mr. Farage?
Yes, of course.
Which is more important, a child's life or someone being able to access an MP's speech?
This isn't going to save any lives.
Interesting. Obviously, this has sparked quite a freedom of speech row, and I think, obviously what he's facing a backlash from, is basically, do you want to protect children online or not?
He would argue it's been unfairly characterised, that he does want that, but it's the law has gone too far, Natasha.
Yeah, but I just actually don't think that he's managed to make the case that is exactly what this law is meant to be doing, and actually he's trying to highlight the cases of where freedom of speech is up for debate. Where I did think he had a point was where he's talking about 16 and 17-year-olds. The government want to give them the vote, but then they're not going to be able to see harmful, so-called harmful content online. And of course, the tech firms obviously do seem to be taking quite a strict approach to this, and we are seeing what is being dubbed censorship on the internet. Social media firms basically trying to create this blanket approach rather than actually sort of do the proper age verification checks, as he noted our LBC investigation has been looking into. Thought he was strong on that as well. But one thing where I did think he really got unstuck, magic money tree Nigel Farage.
Your sums don't add up. Spending commitments apparently total £141 billion a year.
Have you seen what's happened to our national finances since 2010? So it's quite comical to be told my sums don't add up. Do you know the Tories increased the national debt 2.5 times? We now have a Labour government where our borrowing requirement this year, every single month we get the figures, they're out. So, let us be clear. Just on one quick point.
Go on.
The two-child benefit. I was very clear that I thought British working people should be able to get that. And what I mean by that is not people coming into the country from overseas, not those that are unemployed, but people who are working on low wages where a couple both work. I think we should help them with tax credits.
I agree with you.
So let's be clear with that. And on the overall sums, let's just talk. Isn't it funny? We have massive arguments about £1.5 billion on winter fuel payments. Can we, can't we afford it? But isn't it funny? We're perfectly happy to pump another potentially 70 billion into HS2. Mm-hmm. Even the OBR, who are, effectively an instrument of government, really, even they admit that net zero is costing 30 billion a year. And, Nick, you can start going on and seeing massive cuts, massive savings that can be made.
Where are you going to pay for it? You cannot just keep saying that you are going to, scrap net zero, scrap HS2, and that we're going to be able to find the money for everything. He cannot announce new policy after new policy after new policy without actually saying how it's going to get paid for. We are living in a world where politicians repeatedly are making fantasy promises, and I really don't feel like it's a helpful thing for him to keep buying into that narrative.
Well, just lastly, particularly when you point out the pain they went through over the winter fuel payments, let me just get this right. They've got to go 100 times. They would have to go 100 times more than the winter fuel payment.
Exactly.
It's a lot of money to find.
It was just deflect on those questions. What about George Osborne? What about the public finances? If you want to be in government, you need to come up with your own credible plan for the economics and the finances, and I don't think that Nigel Farage has got it.
Epstein was this huge New York figure for a very, very long time.
Did you meet Mr. Epstein?
No, I didn't. Had I been 10 years older, I would have done. Because they were the circles.
What has Mr. Trump said to you about Epstein?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We've never discussed it. And let's be clear, David, he did not go to the island. Another former American president was a frequent visitor.
Why not just release all the files then, Mr. Farage?
Well, listen, our government doesn't release all sorts of files. I suspect they will. And I think this is one area where...
He could end it overnight, couldn't he?
It's one area where Donald has sort of put himself in a conflict with much of his own base. So I think probably he'll have to.